Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. On this video I am going to be giving you my preview for the Manchester United Manchester City game at Old Trafford on Sunday 4:30 kick-off, and it's going to be a very entertaining game of football. Now of course Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is hoping that this is going to be a classic derby on Sunday. He's also come out and said the scheduling of the Manchester derby is unfair. So what it means in that aspect is that, City will be more prepared than Manchester United. This is going to be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Pep Guardiola's fourth head-to-head meeting this season as managers, of course. Obviously, we've played Manchester City 3 times already this season, and of course we have beaten them twice. We're beating them 1-0 in the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. Obviously, Matic had scored the only goal of the game. He actually got sent off in that game, did Matic, but of course it wasn't enough for us to progress to the Carabao Cup final. City, did beat us in the first leg by 3-1. So obviously, the damage was already done. And of course, we did beat Manchester City, in the league earlier on in the season by 2-1. So we are looking to be, do the double over Manchester City. And Solskjaer is looking to beat Pep Guardiola for the third time. And it is going to be a very entertaining game. We are in a good run of form. We are unbeaten in our last 9 games in all competitions. Now, obviously, we had a really, really good win yesterday against Derby away from home. Manchester United did win by 3-0 to progress to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. It's, I think, now the 6th season in a row we have progressed to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Of course, Solskjaer did make around 6 changes from the 1-1 draw with Everton. But, it was a very, very good team performance by Manchester United against Derby. It was very, very good to see Luke Shaw get his name on the score sheet. That's his 2nd goal for the football club. And now I think Luke Shaw is into his 6th season as a Manchester United player. It actually, did come off Lingard's back, but, Luke Shaw, the goal had been given to Luke Shaw. But I thought he did get given the man of the match yesterday. He was one of the best players on the pitch. Luke Shaw showed good attacking intent. His defensive contribution was good. He won the first balls, he won the second balls. Very, very good is Luke Shaw. And I know, like people have said, he's had some bad spells as a Manchester United player with his injuries and his poor run of form. And obviously, he had a bad relationship with Jose Mourinho. But since Luke Shaw, has come back, he's been absolutely fantastic for Manchester United. And he could have had more than 1 goal yesterday against Derby. So, yeah, he did put a really, really good performance out. And it was really, really good to see Odion Ighalo get a brace. He scored 2 goals for Manchester United. That's 3 goals now for Odion Ighalo in just 2 starts for the football club. And like, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did mention, he's a different type of striker. His movement probably isn't the same as Rashford and Anthony Martial's. I do believe from my own perception that Odion Ighalo is a good cover-up to Marcus Rashford. There has been talks. Solskjaer has been talking a lot about Odion Ighalo, and he did make an admission on Odion Ighalo, and he actually said he could make Odion Ighalo's transfer permanent. This is what it basically said. Obviously, we've got him on the 6-month loan. We're paying like a third of his wages. But, he's a very, very good player. And I think, we should give him a start against Manchester City. Of course, if he does start against Man City, that will be his full Premier League debut. Of course, Odion Ighalo, should have at least had a hat-trick because he had other chances when he didn't score. But it was a very, very good performance against Derby. I thought Lindelof and, Bay did very, very well at the back. Romero did well in goal. Bruno Fernandes, he's making the difference in the team. He makes a lot of things happen. His decision making is very, very good. Bruno Fernandes is now on 3 goals for Manchester United, and I think he's provided around 2 assists. And Solskjaer has been urged to build a team around Bruno Fernandes, so he also had a really, really good game. I've got to be honest, I think probably Bruno Fernandes and Juan Mata are on the same wavelengths, to be quite honest with you. But I think, Juan Mata's actually, a good backup to Bruno Fernandes. I don't think Lingard was good yesterday, by the way. His performance was very average. Of course, Solskjaer has come out and he's showed a ruthless streak on warning Jesse Lingard. Not only Jesse Lingard, also to Andreas Pereira, because he did come on in the game yesterday. Obviously, at the end of the game, all the stories, were about Odion Ighalo. But obviously, prior to the game, it was all about Wayne Rooney. And I did say it was going to be an intriguing tie. Obviously, with Wayne Rooney returning. Wayne Rooney was unlucky not to score against us, to be fair. He had that chance from that free kick at the end. Romero tipped it over. I think he had another chance from a free kick earlier on in the game. But Wayne Rooney, let's be honest, didn't really make an impact. But, we did. We give him a good reception, Wayne Rooney, because, he'll always be a club legend, Will Wayne Rooney. He was a long-serving player for Manchester United. He endured 13 years at the football club, did Wayne Rooney, our all-time leading goal scorer with 253 goals in all competitions. I think before yesterday, he played against us before, I think when he went back to Everton from Man United. But Man United won multiple titles. He won the Champions League, FA Cups, League Cups, was just an absolutely fantastic player for Manchester United. But, he'll always be a legend of the club, Will Wayne Rooney. Yes, he will in that. So, yeah, it was a very, very good win against Derby. And like I mentioned, the FA Cup is a priority for Manchester United because it is a chance of us, getting some silverware on the board this season. It's a big chance for us getting some silverware on the board this season, because we haven't won out in terms of silverware yet under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I do believe, we can win the FA Cup. We've kept a lot of clean sheets recently as well. Let's add that into the equation. We haven't even conceded yet in the FA Cup, which is very, very good news. We've got Norwich in the quarterfinals, so I am going to assure that, Manchester United are going to get to the semi-finals of the competition. But there's still some good teams in the FA Cup, Take into account the Europa League's a priority for us. We've got last coming up in the last 16, and I think we can win the Europa League. We won it back under the Jose Mourinho era. We're beating Ajax in the final by 2-0. And if we win the Europa League, that will be another route for Champions League qualification, because Manchester United do need qualification for the Champions League. Solskjaer gave his overarching view on the game against Derby. He said, it was a very, very good result for Man United. Very, very good result for Man United. And he did basically say that, we will now give it everything to fight to win the trophies, that Manchester United, can win this season. Because if we can get some silverware on the board, that will restore the winning mentality at Manchester United. And probably more than likely, Solskjaer will be given another season at the football club. There's been reports saying if we don't get qualification for the Champions League, he could be sacked as Manchester United manager. But I think, we can win the Europa League, the FA Cup, or we could even win both. So if we could win both trophies, you can say we've enjoyed a pretty decent season, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, we need to get back to winning ways in the Premier League, because we did draw our last game against Everton 1-1. But this is going to be a very, very tough game against Manchester City. Of course, Manchester City have been in a good run of form recently. They've won their last 5 games in all competitions of Manchester City. Of course, they did beat Sheffield Wednesday. Was it on Wednesday by 1-0? So they progressed to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. They did beat Aston Villa last weekend in the Carabao Cup final. So Manchester City have got some silverware on the board this season. That's the third time in a row. City have won the Carabao Cup, so they have won that. So yeah, they've won the last 5 games in all competitions of Manchester City. So they are in a good run of form at the moment. Of course, Manchester City have got a few injuries I want to update you on. Obviously, I think Leroy Sané is still out for them. I think he's been out for Man City for the vast majority of this season as Leroy Sané. Also, too, Raheem Sterling has just come back for Man City. Laporte is also injured. I think it did confirm he's going to be out for a month. Kevin De Bruyne, I want to take into the equation. He came off with a back injury in City's 1-0 win against Sheffield Wednesday. So there's been reports saying that it could be a doubt for the game at the weekend. Kevin De Bruyne. So Manchester City, have had quite a few injuries as Benjamin Mendy recently been suspended. But yeah, and I think, from my own perception, Manchester City can win the Champions League this season, because that's obviously, Manchester City's priority and Pep Guardiola's priority, because that's the only trophy Manchester City have not won in their history is the Champions League. The closest they've come to winning the Champions League, is, I think they progressed to the semi-finals. That's the closest they've come to winning the Champions League, Manchester City. They did progress to the semi-finals, and they did have that historic win, against Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu the other week. that was the first time they'd beaten Real Madrid ever in the Champions League. So I do believe that Manchester City are going to progress to the last 8 of the competition, because I do believe probably City, will beat them in the second leg at the Etihad Stadium. Don't forget, City can still win the FA Cup. Pep Guardiola now is into his 4th season as Manchester City manager. I think he's in his 4th year. Yeah, he is. And of course, he's, won 8 major honours with Man City. Of course, City won the domestic treble last season. So they replicated, what we did back in 1999, because we won the treble in 1999. And Solskjaer gave his overarching view on that, because he reacted to Liverpool losing to Chelsea in the Cup. And he basically said, it's impossible for teams to emulate our 1999 treble winning season, because it was such a great achievement, and it's one of the club's greatest achievements, was the treble back in 1999. Of course, City have won back-to-back Premier League titles. Obviously, there was hope in this season they could have won their 3rd title on the trot. The last team to, win 3 titles in a row was us back in 2007, 2008 and 2009. They are sitting 22 points behind Liverpool, but I think, Manchester City are going to get second this season. They have won 4 Premier League titles in total of City, so the 9 behind us, because we've won 13 Premier League titles. They've won 2 Premier Leagues under Guardiola. There was good last season, there was good the season before, because they finished on 100 points, and they won it under Manuel Pellegrini. They won 1 Premier League under him, and they won 1 Premier League under Roberto Mancini. I do believe Pep Guardiola will be at Manchester City more than likely next season. I know Manchester City are banned from the Champions League for the next 2 seasons, and that's another main explanation why, City, would want to win the Champions League this season. They have thrown a lot of money at the appeal. I'm very, very sceptical, though, that they will get this, ban from the Champions League overturned. But I don't see him getting rid of Pep Guardiola, because Pep Guardiola, is regarded as one of the best managers in the world. He's got a good pedigree behind him, also reflecting on the amount of trophies Pep Guardiola's won. Very, very good manager is Guardiola. Hasn't only won stuff at City, he won stuff at Barca, didn't he win stuff at Bayern Munich? He did actually win the Champions League with Barcelona, did Pep Guardiola. He won the Champions League with Barcelona. So yeah, very, very good manager. And the main explanation why Pep Guardiola is as good as he is anyway is because of Marcelo Bielsa, because he worked with him when he was younger, and you can obviously say that Pep Guardiola is following Marcelo Bielsa's philosophy. Now obviously we've spent a lot of money. Manchester United have spent a lot of money. City have also spent a lot of money, especially under Guardiola. I think Pep Guardiola spent like £1 billion, is it, in his managerial career, or just over that. But more than half of that, has been spent at Manchester. More than half of that, has been spent at Manchester City. In Pep Guardiola's contract due to expire at the end of next season, if I'm right. But he's, a very, very good manager, is Pep Guardiola. And of course, City, will be hopefully, that they can try and win the league next season. But this is going to be a very, very good game, like I mentioned, against City. Like I said, City have got a lot of good attacking players in their team that could cause us all sorts of problems. They've got Sergio Aguero, who I think is actually, City's top goal scorer. He's been at City since 2011. City got him from Atletico Madrid. Sane, obviously, I can't comment on him this season because he hasn't played much with injury. Don't forget Raheem Sterling, he's also a threat. City did get Raheem Sterling from Liverpool. Gabriel Jesus, also a very, very good player. De Bruyne is also very, very good. Bernardo Silva, he's also a very, very good player. Like I mentioned, John Stones, definitely underrated is John Stones. He doesn't really get in Manchester City's team anywhere, does John Stones. Otamendi and Fernandinho are actually, Pep Guardiola's preference over John Stones, even though they're not predominantly centre-halves. Obviously they've got Kyle Walker of Manchester City, who they got from Tottenham, was it, for around £50 million. Benjamin Mendy. So City have, got a lot of good players. I think just on fullbacks, or I think just on defenders and that, on fullbacks, City spent just over £200 million on all of them, disregarding, what they spent on the other players that they've brought in recent years. But you can definitely say City have bought their success, without a shadow of a doubt. They've bought their success. Like I said, City, people will disagree. Some people say City have built a great club. I think, City have a small club mentality. The main explanation why they've been so good in the last 4 or 5 years is because, they've obviously, recruited the right players in, and, they've built a great squad. So that's one of the main explanations why I think, Manchester City have been so good in the last 4 to 5 years. I think in the last 4 to 5 years, they've finished higher than us. So now we'll delve into some of the team news building up to the game. I'm also going to give you my starting 11 prediction. Now, I just want to give you some news regarding Harry Maguire. Now, obviously, Harry Maguire missed the game against Derby yesterday because he had sustained an ankle injury in training. And Harry Maguire, Solskjaer did say, I've just watched some of his press conferences, he did say that, he will be further assessed tomorrow. But Solskjaer is hopeful that Harry Maguire will be fit for the game. He should be fit for the game, Harry Maguire, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, I think Harry Maguire's done really, really well since he joined the club from Leicester last summer. We paid £80 million for him. So he's the most expensive defender in the world, and he's the second most expensive signing at the football club. And he's done really, really well as Maguire. His distribution's good, shows that ability to play out from the back. So hopefully he's back for the Manchester City game on Sunday. Also, I'm going to provide you with some news regarding Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James. Now, reportedly, Wan-Bissaka, he has been out with a back injury, Wan-Bissaka. He did play the game against Everton, but he obviously, missed the game yesterday against Derby, did Wan-Bissaka. So obviously, Diego Dalot had fulfilled his position. Maybe Wan-Bissaka, will not be available for this game, so maybe Dalot could get given another opportunity. Again, same thing with Harry Maguire. Bissaka will be further assessed, and so too will Daniel James. He'll be further assessed tomorrow. He's missed the last 2 games with injury as Daniel James. Obviously, I think anyway, Solskjaer's been overplaying Daniel James this season. Of course, obviously, Rashford is a long-term absence. Lee Grant's a long-term absence. Rashford's out with a back injury. Could be out for the rest of the season. Could Marcus Rashford. Could Marcus Rashford, but I think he's actually, confident, that he will be fit for the European Championships this year. But Rashford is a big miss. The news on Paul Pogba is that he won't be playing against Manchester City. Like Solskjaer recently did say that Paul Pogba, was working with the physios. He did say set to return to training by next week. This is what, had been confirmed. There was reports saying that, the earliest we're looking at him back is for the Manchester City game. But he actually, should be back for the Tottenham game, should Paul Pogba. Now, is he going to leave Manchester United? That is the question. I don't know, to be quite honest. Rio Ferdinand has actually, urged the club to make a decision regarding Paul Pogba's future. I think Paul Pogba is excited about playing alongside Bruno Fernandes in our midfield, but I think, he's still keen on leaving Manchester United this summer, is Paul Pogba. His appearances have been limited this season. He's only played 8 games this season. The last game he started from the start was back in September. That's the last game he did start, Paul Pogba, and hasn't played overall since Boxing Day. Did initially come back, and then obviously, another injury occurred. So he has been out for the vast majority of the season. If Pogba leaves this summer, I think he'll either go to Real Madrid, or if he doesn't go to Real Madrid, he will make a return back to Turin. But if we're to sell him this summer, we would demand around £150 million for the player, basically. But, he had the same perception last summer than what he's got now, because he wanted to leave Manchester United last summer, did Paul Pogba. But obviously, you've got Fred, McTominay, Matic, Bruno Fernandes, all in really, really good form. So I think for Pogba to get in the team on a regular basis when he does come back, I think we've got to either drop Fred, McTominay and Matic. And there's no real reason why we would, because, they've all done well recently. I know Matic didn't play against Derby, but I think in the games he's played in recently, he has really, really done well. And Bruno Fernandes seems to make him quicker in that midfield. There's reports saying as well, if Harry Maguire can't make this game against City, that, Bay could take his position, or Tuanzebe could take his position, because I think now Tuanzebe is back, also Tufosu Mensah is back. But in this game against City, Solskjaer will make changes from the 3-0 win against Derby, and that. I did say, didn't I? He'd probably rest a couple of key players, because he knew that City were on the horizon, definitely. But there's been some good, encounters between Man United and Manchester City over the years. There's been some really, really good games. I remember when we beat them 4-3 when we had Michael Owen at the time. Scholes scored late on against them. That was 1-0. That was back in 2009 or in 2010. Beating them 3-1 in the Carling Cup. Was it back in 2011-2012 where Mooney scored the late winner? So there's been very good encounters between Man United and Manchester City over the years. But we know that City are obviously strides ahead of us at the moment and that. So now we'll get on with the starting 11 prediction. Now it's going to be interesting to see how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer approaches this game against Manchester City. Now we know on a regular basis this season that Solskjaer has been going with that 4-2-3-1 formation. We do know that. Obviously, from my own perception, that 4-2-3-1 formation doesn't really seem to suit our standards. From my own perception, we look more expansive with 3 at the back. Now, with Luke Shaw, he can play well if we go with 4 at the back, or he can play well, when we go with 3 at the back, because like I mentioned, he has really improved as Luke Shaw. But I think in this game against City, I think he's going to go with 3 at the back, because like Solskjaer said before, we seldom go with the 3-5-2. But like in big games like against City and that, it's very beneficial, to go with 3 at the back. So I think Solskjaer in this game is going to go with the 3-5-2 formation. So obviously David De Gea will be back in goal. Obviously he didn't play against Derby because Romero tends to play in the cup games like I mentioned. Obviously, there's a lot of debates going on regarding David De Gea. Do you think he'll still be at Manchester United next season? David De Gea. Don't forget after the game against Everton, Roy Keane was criticising David De Gea. Obviously reflecting on his calamitous mistake he made for Dominic Calvert-Lewin's goal. He's made quite a lot of mistakes as David De Gea recently. And like I mentioned, he's been a liability at least for the last year and a half or so. But prior to that, he's had a really, really good career with Manchester United as David De Gea. Obviously, Dean Henderson is set to return to Man United after his loan spell with Sheffield United. So obviously he's gained more experience now as Dean Henderson. So there's been rumours saying that, we could make Dean Henderson our number 1 goalkeeper. So this is what rumours, have been emerging out, basically. Because I think he's expected to come back as Dean Henderson. But David De Gea, long servant he is, now into his 9th season at Man United. He's endured 8 years here. He's won everything he domestically. He's won the Club's Player of the Year 4 times out of the past 5 or 6 years, reflecting on his good run of performances. And Solskjaer still insists he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He's the highest paid goalkeeper in the world on £375,000 a week is David De Gea. So yeah, he will start in goal. Now I think the 3 at the back, I think Maguire will be available. I think he'll be available. Maguire he should be. I think it's touch and go to be involved. So yeah, Maguire. These are the 3 centre-halves. Maguire, Victor Lindelof and Eric Bay. Some people would say we'll put Luke Shaw at centre-half. If Harry Maguire isn't available, I think we'll go with Lindelof. We'll go with Lindelof, Bay and Luke Shaw. That's if Harry Maguire isn't available. But if he's available, I'm going to go with Harry Maguire, Lindelof and Eric Bay as the 3, centre-halves. Then I think at left wing-back, Manchester United will go with Luke Shaw. Or we could go with Brandon Williams, but I will go with Luke Shaw. Obviously Solskjaer goes with Luke Shaw on the experience. I know Brandon Williams has done really, really well. You can't take anything away from him, but it's only his first season in the senior squad, Brandon Williams, so Luke Shaw is more experienced than him. Brandon Williams did come on against Derby, but hasn't played as much, recently, to be honest with you. Reflecting on how good Luke Shaw has done for Manchester United. So yeah, him at left wing back. I think right wing back, probably Diego Dalot. Maybe Wan-Bissaka won't be available for this game, so I'm going to go with Diego Dalot. He does deserve more chances, does Dalot, because he did well against Derby, to be fair. Very composed, bombarded forward well, and showed good attacking intent, did Diego Dalot. And he's sustained a few injuries this season for Man United. So I'm going to go with them at the wing backs. In the midfield, I'm going to go with Fred. He'll keep his place in the team, will Fred, because he's done really, really well recently. Like I mentioned, he did really, really well in Ukraine, did Fred. I think, under Mourinho, when we got him under Mourinho in the summer of 2018, never really got his opportunities. But since Solskjaer's come in, Fred has really been given his opportunities. So that's very, very good to see. And now he's doing really, really well. Still hasn't emulated that level, but he is getting there, he's Fred. He really, really is. And he's definitely, being galvanised as Fred. But I've been very, very impressed with him. Scored his first 2 goals for Manchester United, did Fred. His first 2 goals in 17-18 months against Club Brugge. So he'll start in the midfield. I think McTominay will play alongside him. Because, he's also enjoyed a really, really good season for us. So that's who I think we'll go with in the midfield. The number 10, obviously Bruno Fernandes, he'll stay in that number 10. And I think the 2 up front will be Odion Ighalo and Anthony Martial. So that is my starting 11 prediction for the game. I think, Odion Ighalo will make his full Premier League debut. Anthony Martial, I think he was recently injured, Anthony Martial. Is this why he didn't start against Derby? But he did come on in the game, did Anthony Martial. And Martial's been in good form recently, to be fair. He has been operating in that number 9 role this season. I think we need to revert him back to the left because that's his predominant position, Anthony Martial's, because Odion Ighalo is obviously, the out-and-out number 9. But I think, who they'll play together in this game will Odion Ighalo and Anthony Martial, and I do believe they'll complement each other fantastically well. So, so that is your starting 11 prediction for this game. And that. My verdict on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is that, maybe he deserves another season at Manchester United, because he has been out at Manchester United for 14 months. He has been permanent manager, I think, for like a year now as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And you can say one of the mistakes the club made was giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job on a permanent basis, but the main explanation why I would give him the job permanently is reflecting on what he did when he was the interim manager, because he did really, really well in that 3-month period when he was the interim manager, did Solskjaer. And like I put into the equation before, didn't I? The longer Solskjaer is managing Manchester United, the more experience he's going to gain. Because I did say, he's inexperienced as a manager, as we all know. But if he's to be given another season, he'll gain more experience in that. And there's still people that are backing Solskjaer. You had Matic coming out backing him. Matic believes he's improving as Manchester United manager. Ed Woodward laid the foundations for long-term success with Solskjaer. Ed Woodward is still determined to back him. And, quite a lot of the players are still determined to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We are definitely in that top 4 race, even though we have enjoyed our worst start to a Premier League season, ever. A lot of teams have been very inconsistent this season. This is one of the main explanations why Liverpool have blitzed the league, because, a lot of teams have been very, very poor this season in the Premier League. But I think we can get in that top 4 this season. I did say at the start of this season that our expectations this season will be to finish in that top 4, definitely. But, so far Solskjaer's enjoyed 3 transfer windows at Manchester United, and he spent £220 million on 5 players. Also, we have generated some money, for some of the players that have left since Solskjaer's arrival. Around 9 senior players have left the club since Solskjaer came in. Around 9 senior players have left, yeah. But he spent around £220 million. So I think we need to give Solskjaer at least one more transfer window to see who else he can recommend in to the football club. Obviously, we are making plans for the summer, and we have got a lot of players on our agenda who we could go in for. Like I mentioned, Sancho's on our agenda, so too is Jack Grealish. I was reading reports the other day, and it says we are orchestrating on spending around £160 million on the duo. Obviously, there's been talks about Harry Kane possibly coming to Man United, but there is still definitely deficiencies in the squad that do need to be addressed. There's deficiencies in the squad that do need to be addressed, definitely. And, like I mentioned, Solskjaer is our 4th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, Man United are not really known for the sacking football club, despite the fact that we sacked 3 managers since Ferguson left. We sacked Moyes, we sacked Van Gaal, and we sacked Jose Mourinho. So we haven't really got the structure to keep sacking managers. I don't think Solskjaer will invoke Ferguson's legacy at the club. You know, it takes some managers time to settle in, you know, take into account Jurgen Klopp wasn't good straight away with Liverpool. Ferguson didn't win out in his first 4 years at the club, you know, when we recommended Alex Ferguson in. He didn't win out in his first 4 years, but it was unbelievable what he went and accomplished after not winning out after that 4 year period. You know, very, very good manager, you know, was Alex Ferguson. So some managers, you know, do deserve time, to be fair. Do deserve time. But Manchester United are still one of the biggest clubs in the world with a fantastic history, a fantastic fan base. We've won 20 titles. You know, 13 of them Premier League, so we are the most successful team in England historically. You know, we've had a lot of great players up and down the generations. You know, we've just been so inconsistent for the last 6 or 7 years, and I think if we can get the right players this summer, I think we know we can challenge for the league going on into next season, definitely in that. So that's just my opinions on all of that. So anyway, guys, that's your Man United Manchester City preview. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.